Welcome back to the channel. Joshua Tree back with another video. And then you can tell by this title, okay, we about to go in. All right. So thank you to everybody who came back to this particular channel, supporting the channel. I appreciate everyone. Um, this video is going to be geared towards men and of course women, but more specifically men, because I want us to understand, right? What happens in relationships when we don't heal our trauma, when we don't heal our wounds, when we don't understand that we've been socially conditioned, when we don't understand that how to emotionally regulate ourselves. So this video is a contribution to Nancy Bowen. I'm not sure you guys may have not seen on social media this past week or so, but there was I believe the vice mayor that resides in Florida. She just recently was found dead in her home, I believe, and she was killed by her husband. All right. And as I'm reading through the article, the husband killed her because of, he said his last words was, "I just couldn't take it anymore." Right. And so I'm just reflecting on what is he talking about? Like, what is it that made him feel so frustrated to the point where he had to literally kill his wife? Right. And this is something that's played out in a lot of domestic relationships where men do not have control over their emotions, and their rage and frustration gets the best of them, and they wind up doing something that they're obviously going to regret, but also it gets to the point where they may actually kill their partner. So this video is dedicated directly to Nancy Bowen and her family. My condolences. And so I want to talk about this. All right. So this is going to be an intense video. We're going to be talking about jealousy. All right. We're going to be talking about the root cause of jealousy. We're going to talk about how to heal through jealousy. All right. I personally have experiences with jealousy and I saw how it impacts my relationships. We're also going to be talking about patriarchy. All right. So stay tuned. We about to get lit. We about to get lit. All right. I ain't editing this video. This is going to be an unedited video. All right. So let's get into it. Let's get into it. All right. So just bear with me as I teach this. All right. Because I got it in layers. All right. So we're talking about why men get jealous. Like I said, women, you can relate to this as well because you have some of this as well. But I'm speaking more about the biology of men. Okay. So let's begin. Let's start with understanding the biology of the man, understanding a male's brain, not a female brain, a male's brain. I want you guys to really understand that men and women do think differently. We operate differently. We have different hormones that dictate our moods, our emotions, our thoughts, our behaviors, etc. So that's very important. Okay. So on a biological level, that's where we're going to start at, because you can't you can't argue biology. You can't debate biology. This is who we are at the root of who we are. This is us in our animalistic form. Okay. So on a biological perspective, there is a hormone in men's brains called vasopressin. Vasopressin. Okay. And vasopressin is responsible for pair bonding. It's responsible for protection, loyalty, okay, territory. It's a territorial hormone. It makes men feel very territorial. It makes men want to protect whoever they have bonded with. It makes men feel that they're taking care of what is theirs, okay? So, on a biological level, on a natural instinct level, this is what this hormone is doing for us men. This is why we feel that we have to protect our partners. It's because of this particular hormone on a biological level. Now, let's go deeper. I want you to imagine, okay, that you are a wild animal in the jungle. And let's use the lion, because most men like to get tattoos of lions. So let's say you are a lion and you're a wild lion. And so your role is to protect the pride. Your role is to protect the cubs. Your role is to protect what is yours. That is your natural instinct. All right. I'm going to be harping on the word protection throughout this whole entire video. All right. So that's your natural role, right? Now, let's say some colonizers come through. Okay. They take you from out of the jungle and they put you in an unnatural habitat. They bring you to the circus. Okay. Now you're in the circus and they paired you with a lioness, a female lion that's also in this cage that you both are in. And so you still have the basic instincts to protect. But what these colonizers do is they start to retrain the way that you function as a lion. They start to recondition the way that you function as a lion. And they start to make you have ideas, thoughts of control, dominance, authority, ownership. So they took this protective, I gotta control my environment, and they twisted it. And now they made it work against your favor. And the reason why it looks unnatural is because you're in the unnatural habitat. So if you see a lion that's supposed to be, like, say, a little bit more mild mannered, but you're seen as being very aggressive, and you see that it's actually attacking the lioness versus protecting the lioness, then lets you know right then there that it's not a natural mindset. That lion has been conditioned, has been indoctrinated to go against its own nature and to attack every species that looks like him. Okay. Now, this analogy is somewhat similar to, like I said earlier, with the Nancy Bowman situation. This man who claimed that he loved this woman, he attacked her. He has an unnatural way of thinking. Okay. So, this is what a lot of us as men don't understand, that we are living in a society where we have been trained to have a certain behavior that is attacking the love that we said that we're also trying to protect. Okay. So that's the analogy that I want you guys to sit with and embody and understand, that you are a lion that was once in the wild and now you have become artificial. So all the things that you think that you're doing that is natural is not natural. All right. So boom, we're gonna leave with that. Now, that was on a biological level. Okay, we're going from the ground up. Now let's go to a psychological level. Okay, let's go to the emotional level. Now let's talk about jealousy, because jealousy is an emotion. So what is jealousy? Okay, so if you do some research, they'll say that jealousy is a complex emotion, and this complex emotion is more of a protective response to a fear of loss or a threat to something that you have bonded with. So jealousy is considered to be a perceived threat from a third party. So let's give you another analogy, all right? Because I'm in the same boat. I also experienced this. I feel like there's a lot of men who have experienced this, but they don't talk about it. Okay. And women may talk, and women also could experience it, so you can relate. Now, men, let's just say you're on a date, all right? And you're looking at your girl, right? And y'all across from each other. And then you're waiting for your waiter to come. Your waiter comes, the guy is 6'5", got big muscles, broad shoulders, have a deep voice, and he looks like Morris Chestnut, whatever. Okay. Now, the reason why I painted a man that looks like that is because, in general, in the cultural traditional sense, a lot of women will gravitate to a man like that. So naturally, because men don't acknowledge it, but naturally that will make a man feel inferior, or make him feel, or will activate his low self-worth and self-esteem. So, okay, go back to the story. So now the waiter, okay, he's asking me and my girl, right? My girl. That's another thing we're going to talk about later. What what do you want, right? So now, what's going on inside of the man's body? Okay, because he just taking our order, but what's going on inside of the man's body? He's paying attention to how she's responding. If she has any inclination, or he feels like she is flirting, so to speak, or she's talking a little bit more gentle and feminine because she feels like she's more her feminine. Whatever he may be perceiving it as, he is perceiving it as a threat to him. Why is he perceiving it to a threat to him? Because he feels to some degree that this man can take his girl. Okay. It is literally a perceived threat to something that you have bonded with. And if you have bonded with your girlfriend to such a heightened degree, you are going to try to protect that. And if anything outside of you feels like it's a threat to that, you're going to feel jealous. That's what jealousy is. It is a perceived threat to um a relationship that you have bonded with in a very intimate way. So now that we understand this, okay, what's really being taken place is the emotional component. The reason why a lot of us have jealousy issues is because we haven't healed our unhealed trauma wounds when we were a child. Okay. So the two primary wounds that may show up in this experience, or that is stemming from these particular wounds, is an abandonment wound and a rejection wound. So if you was a child and you felt abandoned by, let's say, one of your caregivers, meaning that they wasn't present for you, they wasn't present in your life, they didn't give you a lot of emotional affection, they didn't give you a lot of emotional support, a lot of emotional connection. Okay. You're missing that. That's a missing link for you. When you get in a relationship and you're with your partner and she is providing all of this emotional support and connection, you start to bond to that because you never had that when you was a child. And so you start to try to protect that. That is something that's very dear to your heart. If anything tries to take that away from you, you pose it as a threat and you become overly jealous or jealous. Okay. Or you will act out at the table and have this insecurity that comes up. And then your girlfriend, of course, she's going to say, babe, I wasn't even looking at him like that. I think you tripping. Like, it's not even that deep. Like, I'm just trying to have a good time. Now the whole date is ruined because now your emotions has gotten the best of you and you don't know how to regulate your emotions. And so you just sabotage the whole entire night. Right? Now, let's go back to what I said. It's a wound. It's an unhealed wound. So if you have abandonment issues or even rejection, okay, if society has shown the world that there's one man that every woman should be attracted to, they got this whole saying 666, right? Like 6 feet tall, six figures and six pack of abs, or whatever the fuck it is. If that is the ideal image or person that every woman is attracted to, that's going to naturally make every man feel insecure. Your low self-esteem is going to be triggered. Your self-worth is going to be triggered. So ultimately, this boils down to you not feeling enough. Okay, and I'm keeping it 100 with you guys. All right, this is rawness what we're talking about right now. I'm not trying to play nobody. I'm not trying to offend nobody. But this is where this is coming from on a deep core level. You have insecurities around not feeling enough and not feeling worthy. And this woman that has came into your life, you have also identified with this relationship because it's building up your self-worth. It's building up your self-esteem. She's giving you affirmations every day. She's, cooking for you. She's supporting your dreams, your visions. She's constantly pouring into you. You start to identify with that. And so it's like a threat to your own identity when you have this perceived idea that something's trying to threaten it. Okay. And so that's on a psychological and emotional level what is taking place. All right. Now let's go back just a little bit. All right. We're talking about a hormone called vasopressin. Okay. Which is responsible for protection and bonding. All right. This is how men bond. We bond through this hormone. This is what keeps us in a paired relationship. and it also keeps us in a space of wanting to protect. And it's also supported by testosterone. Okay, these hormones are very important. This is what makes a man, especially testosterone. Okay, fast forward. Now let's go to a social level. All right, because you got to understand that most people, what they'll say is that you got to reprogram your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is based on a lot of social engineering. So as a child between the ages of say 0 and 8 or 0 and 10, you've been socially conditioned by your mother, and you have taken a lot of those experiences. I'm sorry, mother and father, if the father was present. So I guess spirit time trying to give me say mother. But if you're in your mother, if your mother's present, she's socially conditioning you. She's constantly repeating things to you on a social level, and that becomes your new mental narrative and identity. But before you started to create this identity on a social level, you already had psychological beliefs, core beliefs that was given to you. A lot of the psychological beliefs that's been given to us are not true. They're not. I am not enough. I'm not worthy. I have to, be productive in order to feel worthy. These are all social ideas that we have internalized as our identity. Okay. So it's important why we break it down in these layers. So on a social level, this is what I really want to harp on. Okay. We're going to go deep with this. For people who are watching this video, and if you think to any degree that you resonate with patriarchy, you can go ahead and turn the goddamn video off. I personally do not subscribe to patriarchy. Now, if people don't know what patriarchy is, I can just tell you a simple definition. Patriarchy is a social and a political system that um, dictates, control, and dominate femininity. It suppresses the feminine energy. Okay, it's all about control and a social and relational dynamic. All right, patriarchy, because I didn't even understand this until I did some research. It's not healthy. It's not benefiting the man. It's not benefiting the woman. But most men identify with patriarchal viewpoints and patriarchal beliefs because most men don't understand themselves as a man. So we've been given the definition of what a man is through patriarchy. Okay. So it's important as a man to understand what patriarchy is and start to identify with the poison that you have been embedded with or that you have been nourishing in and basking in for decades that is harming the relationships that you're having with the people that you claim that you love. Okay. Patriarchy is not your friend. Now, a lot of men may not want to challenge patriarchy because it favors men. This whole world is ran by patriarchy. That's why they say it's a man's world. It's all about the favoring of masculinity and the suppression of femininity. All right. The way I look at it as I want you men to ask yourself a question. Who in your life that is a woman that you have the most love for? My response is my mama. So I understand as patriarchy is something that has influenced the way that my mama shows up, how my mama chooses to express herself, how my mama has been suppressed and oppressed because of this political system. So if you're a ride or die mama boy, or you're a ride or die, ain't nobody playing with my mama. You ain't got to be a mama's boy, but no one plays with my mama. Then you will understand that patriarchy is doing the same thing to the girl that you with. All right. So I want to harp on that. I don't subscribe to patriarchy. That's not my lane. If that's your lane, go find another one because we ain't driving down that lane on this channel. All right. This channel is for education purposes, and I'm going to definitely educate the shit out y'all on patriarchy. All right. So let's move forward. Social level. Social level. Okay. It's a political and social system. It is literally designed to socially corrupt every aspect of your life, whether you realize it or not, especially for men. So what patriarchy has did, patriarchy knows the biology and details of how the brain of a male exists and how it forms and how it regulates and how it, um, um, you know, how it functions. So what patriarchy has did is capitalized off of the biology of the male brain. And more specifically, patriarchy has capitalized off of this hormone that we're talking about called vasopressin. Okay. So, once again, on a healthier perspective, this hormone creates loyalty. Okay. It creates protection, it creates commitment. All right. Now, there's a shadow to it. This is where patriarchy comes in. The shadow side to this hormone is the loyalty turns into jealousy. All right. The commitment turns into possessiveness. The protection that we claim we're doing as men turns into control. So if you haven't healed your trauma, right? If you haven't healed your trauma, it's going to shift into possessiveness, control, dominance, you name it. All right. And of course, jealousy, right? So let's flip this here page because I got notes on this bad boy. Okay. So let's go a little bit deeper into control. All right. So this is something that I've been paying attention to, and I had to question it. Why is it as men? Come on, let's have a conversation, man. Let's have a conversation. Why is it as men? I gotta get my glasses fixed. Why is it as men when every woman asks us, so what do you bring to the table? And I don't like using that reference, but I'm gonna use it just to make this video. The first thing that a man says is, I'm here to provide and to protect. So I'm like, well, damn. Why the whole goddamn world says the same goddamn thing when it comes down to what a man offers in a relationship to provide and protect? So I started questioning that, right? Like, what does that really mean? So when a man says, I'm here to provide and protect, ladies, okay, women who are watching this channel, I want you to pay attention to what that really means and ask the man, challenge the man to a degree, and ask him, because he probably don't know why he's saying it his damn self. Because most men don't think, and I'm not trying to bash men, but most men don't think outside of what they've been given. They've been socially conditioned. It's just like the lion in the cage. It doesn't question why it's even in the cage. Okay. So I say that to say, most men are not thinking. So if his first response is, I'm here to provide and protect, that means that he is a traditional man. And if he's a traditional man, that means he's a patriarchy man. And if he's a patriarchal man, that means he has some poison within him. Okay. And so when I looked at it, because I think outside the fucking box, when I hear I am here to provide and protect, I started questioning, okay, so what are you really protecting? Most men are not out here with their girlfriends or wives physically protecting her. It's not like everywhere you go, you're having a fight with a man to, defend your women. You're not like constantly protecting her from physical threats. That's not even a thing in society like that. Right? So what are you protecting? A lot of men don't even be in the gym like that. Okay. And if a lot of men are in the gym like that, it's just to inflate their ego. A lot of men don't even know how to fight. You know, they haven't picked up martial arts. They haven't picked up boxing lessons. They haven't learned how to do karate. So once again, do you even know how to protect? Okay. Now most men will grab guns. Okay. So that might be where your protection comes in at. But for the most part, on a consistent basis, how many times throughout the day are you physically protecting your partner? Like, let's talk about it. What does that mean when you say, I'm here to protect and provide? So what I was thinking, right? I was like, well, maybe what men are saying is, if you're at night and, you would like to have a male presence in the nighttime, then you will want some man to be there because, if a burglar comes in at night, you want somebody to defend you against the burglar. So maybe it might be this energy where women feel like if a man's present within her, or I'm sorry, around her, she feels protected to some degree. Now, that could be a thing. But I also realize that what women have done, because women are evolving, okay, guys, This is a message as well. Women are evolving. Women are getting out of these neighborhoods that are very dangerous, and they're finding themselves in better neighborhoods with highlands, with homeland security, and keypads with security clearances and gates with security on it. They're putting themselves in environments where they don't have to worry about protection so much. Women are also taking gun lessons, taking self-defense lessons, carrying tasers, carrying things that they can defend themselves with. So women are finding ways to defend themselves and protect themselves. I'm not saying that a woman shouldn't have a man there to protect her. But what I'm saying is when a man says he there's to protect her, this is not back in the day. This is not indigenous times. This is not, you know, prehistoric times where we was the hunters, quote unquote, and we was going out trying to get food for the family, and we was also defending anybody from coming through to, let's say, destroy the village or destroy our youngins or take our food. So I want y'all, men specifically, to question, what do you mean when you say I'm here to protect? I really want you to harp on that. Okay, so let's move forward. All right. So, like I said, on a social perspective, okay, when we talking about protection, just give me a second. I'm looking at my notes. When we talking about protection, this what protection looks like. Okay, this is what a typical relationship with protection looks like. Okay, ladies, let's say hit up your friend Keisha, right? And you want to go out. It's a girls' night out. It's a Friday night. You want to go out, okay? So you talk to Keisha. You be like, yeah, girl, we going da 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 da. Let my man know so I get dressed and da 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 da. Right? Now, you tell your man, yo, I'm about to go out with Keisha. So I'll be back later on tonight. He responds and says, you're not going nowhere. You respond and say, what you talking about? He says, you're not going anywhere because it's crazy out there. They got, people doing this and people doing that. And I don't want you in the club no later than 12 o'clock. And I just don't want you going out. So, like, yeah, you could just go ahead and cancel that. Now, this can be perceived in two ways. The first way it can be perceived as the man is protecting you. And how does it look like protection? Because he's thinking about all of the violence that's out here in the world. He's thinking about how when you're going to go off into these clubs, they have these men that are unsafe and how they might try to harass you. And so he's trying to prevent you from having these experiences. And so what the woman says to the girl is like, girl, you know what? My man, he don't play with me. I'm going to go ahead and stay inside, girl. Yeah, he tripping. I'm going to just stay inside. Yeah, girl, because I don't know. He just tripping. Yeah, but it's all good, girl. We'll meet up next week. Okay. Right? That means the man is protecting his girl from a perceived threat. Granted, it might be a lot of violence going on in the world, but she knows how to navigate. Okay. Now, the second perceived response is when you hear that, when you really hear the man's response, like you can't go out because of X and Y and Z, what does it really sound like? Control. So, what I realized through patriarchal social conditioning is when a man says, because he got that idea from patriarchy, it is naturally part of us to want to protect. But like I said, you're not out here in the wild protecting like that. So what does that mean when you say you're protecting? So what that really means when a man says, I'm here to provide and protect, what he really needs to say, unless he's deconditioned himself, what he really needs to say, I'm here to provide and control. Because that's on a more consistent basis what men are doing. Men are controlling their partner. They're not protecting their partner. Men are not out here constantly fighting men and protecting their spouse, their partner from other outside threats. But on a very you know closely observed conversation, you'll see that there's control tactics and manipulation that is infused in that whole conversation between their partner. Okay. Like I said, patriarchal favors control and dominance. All right. So I want to harp on that. Once again, on a biological level, okay, we are naturally wired to pursue, to protect, and to bond. That is our natural hardwire. That is part of our circuitry in our brains as men. Okay. If that wiring gets distorted, childhood trauma, abandonment wounds, rejection wounds, neglect wounds, okay, if that wiring gets distorted, it no longer is protection, it is control. The trauma changes the natural biological response to protect, along with the support of the social conditioning, as control. It's not protection. Okay. So let's move forward. Okay. So as I'm trying to process this, right? Because, like I said, I got jealousy issues too, right? So one of the things I started getting into the practice of is polyamory, because I'm hearing through the polyamory community, they utilize this term called compersion to help support themselves with jealousy. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna practice compersion. All right. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe I need to not necessarily focus so much on one person. If I focus on several people, I won't feel so jealous. Like, I'm just trying to think of ways of how to navigate this jealousy. This was like maybe 2-3 years ago when I was really interested in polyamory. Okay. And so nowadays I'm just doing a little bit more inner work with it, right? And so I started questioning as I'm in my meditation, right? So let's go back to the example of the analogy. If I'm sitting at the table with my partner and a man comes and I start to feel insecurities, I start to get into my meditation, and I start asking myself, like, okay, so what is it that is a perceived threat? Like, why do I feel jealous about this? Like, why do I feel triggered by this? And as I'm processing it and I'm processing it, I'm like, oh, because I fear like he's going to take away with me what me and my partner has. I feel like she's just going to take away my love that we cultivating. She's going to give it to him. That's what I received from my meditation download. And I said, okay, but hold up, Josh. But hold up, Josh. Like, you do know that it's okay for her to go with anybody. You do know that you don't own this person, right? So if she decides to go ahead and be with the waiter, that's okay. And then so I started processing it. I'm like, well, why do I not feel like it's okay? Why do I feel like I'm fighting this? Why is it not natural for me to let this person go be whoever she wants to be with? Right? So as I'm processing, right? Boom, it hit me. Spirit came to me and said that the reason why you feel like you cannot let go of this partner and let her be whoever she wants to be with is because of monogamy. So I said, hold up, wait a minute. Let me put some pimping in it. I said, hold on. So you telling me the reason why a lot of us, especially men, have difficulty with control issues is because what monogamy has did is monogamy has told every man that you have the right to be in this exclusive relationship, and this person that you're with is your partner. This is your spouse. This is your wife. What does that sound like to you? What does that translate to you when I say it like that? I'm not going to give you the answer yet. Okay. I'm not going to give you the answer yet. So, as I'm allowing myself to process it, I started thinking a little bit deeper. Whenever you put the word my in front of something, what does that mean? If you say, this is my car, this is my house, this is my toy, this is my TV, what does that sound like to you? It sounds like ownership. It sounds like possessiveness. It sounds like it's an object that you can just take and put in your pocket and walk off with it. So, what do we do on a social level? We say, this is my girl. So, the famous song with the Temptations is talking about my girl, my girl. What he need to be saying is, I'm talking about my possessions, my possessions. So we don't even realize that when we say this is my girl, what you're really saying is, this is my object and you can't take this away from me. This is another form of control. So as I'm practicing more self-love and universal love, I'm realizing that monogamy is not natural. Monogamy deals with a one paired relationship. You're bonded with one person, because mono means one, poly means many. So if you're with one person in a monogamous relationship, and this person is supposed to be dedicated to you and you only, you're going to naturally feel like this person is for you. This person is mine. This is my girl, right? This is control. Okay. This is control. So you can go ahead and reframe the word exclusivity and says, I'm in a controlling relationship. So what society has did is they changed the words around. Instead of saying, you know, um, this is my object, what they say it is, what they use in a more romantic sense, this is my girl. And we say it to ourselves, or we say it to our partners and our friends and our family all day, every day. But this is why a lot of people struggle with jealousy, because you think you own your partner. You think you own your partner. Right now, whoever's watching this video, you think that is your piece of possession that is sitting so beautifully on a shelf, and use some pledge spray to make sure that you dust it off every now and then. Okay. So monogamy, I started doing more research on monogamy. If you're trying to understand, right, something that is foreign to you, they always tell you to go in nature. Go see if it's in nature first, because everything, including the sun, has been there, has been here before all this fuckery that we're experiencing today. So if monogamy is found in nature, then you can say it's natural. So I started doing research and to try to see, try to see on a more I guess holistic level, does monogamy exist in nature? You look at some of the insect kingdom, the plant kingdom. The plants don't have monogamous relationships. Okay, there's certain insects that do have monogamous relationships, but it's only to favor the colony. The male species, the male king and the queen. The king might want to go mate with other beetles, let's just say, and the queen cuts off the male wings so it doesn't leave the colony, so it can protect the colony. Like, you got incidences like that, and this is just simple Google. I didn't even go that deep, but you got incidences like that. They, of course, like to reference human beings to primates and chimpanzees and monkeys, right? Certain monkeys are monogamous, but for the most part, most primates, chimpanzees, etc., are promiscuous. So they not with one monkey or one primate, what have you. They're with several of them. Okay. Now, birds, on the other hand, birds is considered to be the most monogamous species out of the whole entire in nature itself. When you look at birds, what do birds do? They flock together. They stay together. They migrate together. They're one unit. All right. So I started doing more digging, and there was coming from a space of, from a evolutionary standpoint, that in prehistoric times, monogamy was starting to be practiced as a survival strategy, because when babies were being born, they needed to have the male species around to protect the young from outside villagers or hunters or people who were trying to attack the village. It was important for the men to stay around to protect the young, or to also protect the food, to protect the tribe. And so it started to become a practice. Then fast forward, let's just say, it became, let's say, more popular when they start to see that how people was having sex with multiple different people and it was having STDs, right? So in order to control the STD pandemic, they started having single relationships with single people, so you can start to track, like, you ain't having sex with, Mary and Susie, you're just only having sex with Keisha. And so that controls this pandemic from arising by staying with one partner. So monogamy has its benefits, let's just say, but it also has its shadows, and that's what we talking about. Okay. So my thing is that if it's not found in nature, then that means it's not natural. And when you think about monogamy, it is a social construct. People call it natural because at this point we have accepted every goddamn thing and we don't question anything. So we have naturally accepted that this has to be natural. But it is a societal norm. It is a cultural acceptance. So no one questions it. And so for some people, monogamy may work for you because that might be your capacity to only deal with one person, and that's okay. But for some other people, polygamy, I mean, not polygamy, out because I don't, polyamory is more what I practice. It's for other people as well. And so, and of course, do your research on polyamory because there's a lot to that. It's not just, I'm having sex with multiple partners. That's like what most basic men would think. Okay. It's not what that is. So, anywho, um, so let's talk about the solutions in all of this, okay? And we're gonna wrap all this up. So the solution, all right, if a man is listening to this video right now, I need you to do the inner healing work. All right. I now specialize in helping men heal. If you need some support with that, I highly encourage you to reach out. I have my information in my bio on YouTube. Reach out, please. All right. You need to heal the inner child wounds. This will benefit your relationship. It won't take away from it. This will make you a better man. All right. If you're interested in becoming a better man, and you say that you, and the women that you're with, that you say that you claim to love, you will do everything in your mighties of might, all everything that you do in your whole entire being to make sure that you elevate yourself to a newer and higher and vibrant vibration, right? Also, you need to study patriarchy. There's a great resource book. I encourage you just to read this one book. It's by Bell Hooks. It's called The Will to Change: Men, Love, and Masculinity. Prepare yourself because it's a very in-depth book, but it will break down how us as men are suffering from patriarchy. We're not even benefiting from it. It's an illusion. It is an illusion to think that we're benefiting from patriarchy. Get your hands on that book. They got a free audio book version on YouTube. You ain't gotta buy it. Search it up, look it up, and listen to it in depth. Okay. Understand your poison. Understand it thoroughly and start to detach yourself from how the way you've been socially conditioned to interact with women. All right. And of course, recondition the way that you view relationships because that's a part of it. Patriarchy plays a major part in how we socialize in relationships. All right. And so we're about to wrap this video up. So, like I said, this video has been inspired by the young woman named Nancy Bowen, who was recently just murdered by her husband. Us as men, I really want you guys to understand this, okay? You are a lion that was once in the wild, that has been socially conditioned, and now you are no longer operating like a lion. You do not operate like how you're supposed to operate. Your biology has been hijacked. It's been indoctrinated. Okay, it has been bamboozled to a heightened degree. You do not really know who you are as a man. We think we know what we think we know what manhood is. We don't know what manhood is. We know what patriarchy is. We know what patriarchy masculinity is. I want you to look up some of these terms that I'm saying. Patriarchy masculinity. That is not a healthy masculinity. Now, for the men out here who, like I said, don't support anti-patriarchy, who feels like they have to defend patriarchy because it benefits you. Okay. The only reason why you feel that way is because you have a lot of inner child wounds that you haven't worked through. So rather than going through the actual healing, you just want to feel superior and not deal with your trauma. So you want to feel better about yourself because you know that it favors your biology. It favors your lifestyle, so to speak. But at the same time, you are the same person that is dying at a young age. You're the same person who having heart attacks at a young age. You're the same person that's having hypertension, high diabetes at a young age because you're not processing your emotions. And when you don't process your emotions, they sit and they fester, and over a period of time, they become a disease. I ain't making this shit up. Do some research. Okay. Just do your research. All right. So, us as men are having low life expectancies because we're not doing any type of healing work. Patriarchy has told us time and time again to not express our emotions. If you're a man who wants to be in a relationship with a woman, how can you be in relationship with women when you don't know how to emotionally connect to yourself? Women look for emotional connection and affection. How can you give her that when your parents may or may not have given you that? And if they gave you that, they didn't give it to you in a very emotional in tune perspective. They gave it to you in the I gotta yell at you, I gotta spank you, I gotta discipline you. They never was emotionally in tune with you. So if they was never emotionally in tune to your vibration and what you need, then you never received that. And so when you get in a relationship, you don't know how to give that because you can only give what you receive. Right. So, like I said, I specialize in retraining men's emotional self, the emotional body, help you to develop emotional language, help you to connect with your emotions, to become more aware of your emotions. The more that you heal yourself, the more you shift out of a hurt consciousness by hurting other women. And in this particular case, like I said, for Nancy Bowman, preventing yourself from pulling the trigger on the wife, preventing yourself from pulling the trigger on the woman that you claim that you love and to say is the mother of your children. There's too many men incarcerated. There's too many men in prisons. And it's not because, they didn't know what to do with themselves. It's mainly because they didn't know how to regulate themselves. Every man that you talk to in the prison system, when you talk to them, and I've never been to prison, but when you talk to them or you just listen to a lot of the movies, because the movies are mimicking what's happening in real life to a degree, every man says, "Well, what happened, man? What you doing in here? What's going on, man?" "Oh man, I walked in on my girl, man. She was doing it with my best friend, man. So I had to go ahead and just I had to let that thing ring. You know what I'm saying? And I'm here, man. But I ain't gonna lie, man. My emotions got the best of me. Every man that's sitting in prison is a very emotional man. And that's not to throw shade. That is because we have not been trained as boys how to regulate our emotions. We are missing training, okay? Just like when you drive a car, you are trained to know how to drive a car. Men are not trained to know how to deal with their emotions. They have been retrained to not deal with their emotions. Men have received proper training on how to not deal with their emotions versus receiving proper training on how to regulate their emotions. You see the difference in it? You got to see the difference in it. So I hope this video enlightens you. I hope this video makes you think, okay? Think. If you're not thinking, we can't have a conversation. And what I mean by thinking is I need you to think outside of your normal conditioning because the way that you are thinking is unhealthy. It's literally harming everything in your existence. It's sabotaging everything that you can think of. Okay. So on that note, I'm gonna let y'all go. I hope this video resonates. Please drop a comment below. if it was very supportive or whatnot. And I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.